What's up, folks? This is Dan from Discern. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Discern Recap, where I recap new albums or singles in the broad category of Christian music. Welcome back to those of you who watched last week's episode, and to all you new folks, how you doing? My name's Dan. Let me tell you a little bit about the show. It releases every Monday. The format is that I'll give you recommendations, new music that I heard that I think you really should give a listen to, and then other new releases, things that came out I'll comment on, things that you may be way more interested in. Feel free to comment below and tell me about that. I do need you to get involved if you like this content. Keep it going. Subscribe. You can tweet at me at Discern Reviews. Send me an email, discernreviews@gmail.com. Like I said, comment below. What do you want to hear about? What are some albums that you really enjoyed? I notice that these walls behind me, which are actually brown, look disgustingly yellow. But the sun is setting. I gotta get the video out. So let's get going here. Recommendations. On Thursday, January 14th, out of nowhere, Lecrae dropped his third Church Clothes mixtape, Church Clothes 3. Obviously, Lecrae, rap, hip-hop, very well known in the Christian hip-hop community and now even in mainstream hip-hop. He also released with this, they released a short film, 15 minutes or so. It's kind of a collection of music videos that go along with these songs. Really worth checking out as well. I'll put the link of that in the description. I fell off the Lecrae train a few years ago when everything started going, at least from my perspective, like 100% radio southern rap, heavy on the trap beats, or this rap pop mix. That's when I fell off. And this mixtape is phenomenal. This is where he got me back in. It's fantastic, powerful instrumentals. Beats are varied, unique. It's worth listening to for just the production alone. But lyrically, this album goes to a whole other level. It's pretty much split in 2 topics. There's some miscellaneous stuff in there too. You know, it is a mixtape after all. Firstly, problems and injustices in black and poor communities across the U.S. As Lecrae has been in the past, his content is very timely. Rapping about gang violence, drug peddling, the idols of money and status that are promoted in mainstream rap, and the problems that perpetuates. Young kids grow up in these communities with almost no opportunities to move up or even get out, and then they listen to these mainstream rappers who encourage them toward a destructive life. And Lecrae calls these rappers out for seriously hamstringing and wrecking these poor communities, specifically black communities. Secondly, his other topic he gets into is addressing haters, those who doubt the way Lecrae is going with his music. To some extent, Reach Records, his label, and even the way he just goes about the process. Lecrae and Reach Records, it's a backstory here, I guess, they've openly moved away from explicitly biblical language, but they say that they have the same heart. They're not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. They're 116, Romans 1:16 verse that was sort of their model. Some people think they're sellouts. Some people are surprised they're as successful as they are. Some people think they're too successful and that they're no longer humble. He addresses all that, and he's in the spotlight now in Christian music and in mainstream rap. But I do miss the theology, the thick theology that he used to pack in his lyrics. But first of all, he can do what he wants with his music. Secondly, in no way has he turned his back on Christ and the gospel. I mean, he still talks about it, but not necessarily like he used to. And I understand how that can be bothersome. But this album here, this mixtape, is so deep. There is a lot to mine here, a lot to seriously think about. The new Jim Crow comes up numerous times, and just take a look at the album cover. It got me questioning myself, how much do I care about the tragedies that happen to the black community from inside that community and from outside? Sometimes I forget that music can speak to actual reality. It can be a platform to hopefully change minds in the real world. Lecrae has something to say on this album, as he does on many of his albums, and I think everyone needs to hear it. 3 tracks I would recommend to get you started. Gangland, featuring Propaganda. It's about the history of gangs. Very, very interesting. Sidelines, sort of about, like I said, his haters or what people are saying about him, and a little bit of a response to that. And 3rd track, Misconceptions 3, which he has a track, Misconceptions, on each of his past Church Clothes mixtapes. Here we are again, Misconceptions 3, featuring John Gibbs, Jay Givens, and Jackie Hill Perry, which all just completely crush the verses. It's excellent. Moving on, 2nd recommendation, Vineyard Worship, Anchour Studio Sessions. Obviously they are in the worship genre, indie, pop, electronic. This is the 2nd release from Vineyard Worship this year. Yeah, people, seriously, slow down. We are just a few weeks into January. But Vineyard Worship is the musical arm of Vineyard USA, church organization. I enjoyed this record quite a bit for being a worship record. You know, the song. Well, I guess to start it off, the song "Throne of Grace," one of my favorites, was really refreshing in tone, in content, in the overall production. This was a beautiful departure from the heft of stale worship music content that came out recently. Take the song "Pour It Out." The worship roots that this song comes from are pretty obvious, the influences, the shaping forces, but it brings a unique sound to it, a unique feel. The music caught my ear right away, the first chorus especially. The lyrics about his blood covering us, but yet using the term "pour it out" as the main line and title is something original. It's thought-provoking. Now, while the whole album isn't stellar from top to bottom, you know, I thought "I Lift My Eyes Up," Psalm 121, stretched out too long, but the ending was awesome, a cappella with only drums and a little bit of a chaotic, echoed out riffing guitar. Or the song "Stand in Awe," not very interesting musically, at least the first half, but there's a line in there that says, "Behold the Lamb in heaven, he was dead, but God raised him from the grave, for his arm is mighty to save. Now glorified and reigning, the keys of death and Hades in his hand, O hail the Lord of every man." That's a common theme in Christian music. There's many songs that have stated that, but it's uniquely stated here. It's stated with rich, poetic phrasing, biblical language. At the very least on this record, every song has at least something, a piece that I enjoyed. So, 3 tracks to get you started: "Throne of Grace," "Pour It Out," and "What Can I Bring?" Let's move on now to other releases. There were quite a bit, so buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. Jesus Culture. They released a live record, "Let It Echo." It's arena worship. That's how I would describe this sound. It's like many big worship groups, mimicking somewhat the sound of Hillsong, and I'm going to call it arena worship. Jesus Culture releases a massive amount of music each year. What they do over there in California, I don't know. But frankly, these albums, they become like water off a duck's back. Like, I can't even tell a thematic difference between the albums. At least church music groups, music collectives like Sovereign Grace release albums with a specific subject, like the Trinity, the Incarnation, the Resurrection, Christian suffering, the church. But what differentiates this album, this new album from Jesus Culture, what differentiates it from the others? I literally don't know. If you have an idea, you know Jesus Culture better than I do, let's say, let me know below. Spell out the reasons. I really don't know. There is just no way this music, to me, can have staying power when they knock it over by a new release every few months. And the sound of the music tells me they aren't really shooting to create a seminal record. The catchy hooks in these songs, you know, they're not enough, though, for me to keep slogging through to the end of the record. There's this lyric in there, "For eternity we will sing of all you've done." And I'm thinking, when have you done that so far on this album? If the answer is God with us, God for us, nothing can come against us, no one can stand between us, that's what we mean when, we'll sing of all you've done. I feel like you've got to treat your audience with more maturity. You got to go deeper than that, at least at some point in the record. Read Romans chapter 8, which near the end of that chapter speaks to the theme in this song, the courage, God being with us, God lifting us up. It's because of Romans 8:1, what says there's now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. That's how God lifts us up, in the gospel of his Son. Next album, let's move on. Crowder, as in David Crowder, Neon Steeple, and Neon Steeple Extravaganza. These albums came out in the last few years, but this is a combination 2 CD record that just was released, so I thought I'd mention it, and maybe you haven't even listened to those releases previously. Neon Steeple came out in 2014, and Neon Steeple Extravaganza, which is 6 live songs, came out at the end of 2015. This sound, as he deems it, David Crowder, folktronica, the sound of his solo work, I think is, to me, a little akin to how his live shows when he was with the David Crowder Band, how those sounded, but here the electronic side is more purposeful, so more central. My thoughts on this folktronica experimentation are that he doesn't do the folk moments well, and he doesn't do the electronica moments well. But give it at least a try. If the club version of Cotton Eye Joe, which intros the live version of My Beloved, it's the first track on Neon Steeple Extravaganza, if that causes you to roll your eyes, just put the record down, because it's not going to get any better. But if you smile and you think, oh, that's sweet, keep listening, because you'll probably enjoy it. That's the litmus test right there. Next album, Joy Enriquez, The Call. She's a pop singer, CCM, singer-songwriter. She's a musician, actress. She made a reality TV show. Her corner of Christian music is quite different from where I am. I don't understand as much that corner, that side of things. But this record, it's pretty darn long. It's over an hour. And I don't have much to say about it. I enjoyed some things, though, like the lyrics from 70,000 about God's unending forgiveness, and her cover of Matt Maher's Lord, I Need You. But songs like Wonderful, you can't unhear that. Next record, Zach Loomis, Captivate. Worship leader, singer-songwriter. This album is so boring. I'm sorry to say that. It's a very slow start with the song Mountain of God, and it doesn't get better. What led you, Zach Loomis, to write these songs? Because you're saying the same things with the same phrasing that has been done in Christian music for 10 years. And you're playing with the same style and the same musical structure. Why did you write this now? And if you're saying, well, I was inspired by these events and these things, and that's what led me to write it in these ways, say that. Speak to that, This is too generalized, it's too condensed, it's too impersonal, that it becomes forgettable. It's sad, because I bet the stories behind them are real, but these songs are so formulaic. I get lost, and all I can remember is the formula and style. I cannot remember the songs themselves. Songs are more than just one thing. You don't say, I'm going to write a song. That's one thing. It's one style. It's one mold. But apparently, as I listen through this, worship songs are, and that's not the case. And it was disappointing on this record. Next record, Kellie and Kristen, We Receive, a singer-songwriter duo, worship leaders. More of those this week. Kellie and Kristen Fusilier, I don't know if I'm saying their last name right, twin sisters from Louisiana who, while they've been leading worship for like 10 years, just started releasing material, I think, a couple of years ago. They have excellent voices, great production on this album. It's mostly a southern CCM worship music style. Nothing to get overly excited about. The arrangements are predictable and commonplace within the genre. It's sadly another worship album on the pile this week. But the lyrics are solid. Like the song Only Jesus or the song Once for All, great lyrics. Not very musically compelling. It started to get there toward the end. Powerful, rumbling drums, swelling strings. There was some potential there. Next album, Mercyland, Hymns for the Rest of Us, Volume 2. This has a variety of artists on it. It would fall under the categories of country, blues, singer-songwriter, bluegrass. It's a gospel Americana music collaboration. Let's just look at the artists involved. The Lone Below, the Wood Brothers, Emmylou Harris, John Paul White, Humming People, Angel Snow, Jason Eskridge, Sugar and the Hi-Lows, Will Kimbrough, Phil Madeira, the McCrary Sisters, David Crowder, and John Schofield. Like I said, gospel Americana, but it's not very rich in the gospel like we've come to expect from hymns. But, oh right, these are hymns for the rest of us. Gospel styling, Nashville sound, it's bluesy, that's what it means. Musically, it's not my thing, heavily blues oriented, but it may be yours, totally subjective. Christianity, though, in this album is just a historical, cultural touchstone. Listen to the background of the purpose behind the album. This one and Volume 1 from the creator, Phil Madeira. The idea wasn't to make a Christian record, but it was to pay tribute to the great body of work which is in the bones of Americana, country, and blues. Mahalia Jackson and the Steeple singers were socially relevant, calling on a so-called Christian society to put its money where its mouth was. I conceived this project as a reaction to the fundamentalism that pervades so much of religion today. And here's some more about it. Quote, "These records are for those who recoil at the idea that spirituality is only for a select few," end quote. There's a lot to unpack there, but let me just talk about the album that came out a few days ago. It's obvious that these songwriters on the album know and care deeply about the problems in this world, the pain, the real suffering, but the solution is not let's just love each other. You know, as a Christian, if you are one, you have the balm of the gospel that you can give to people with hurting, downtrodden souls. The gospel, the redemption offered in Christ, is what provides lasting healing, not just a love other people, don't get into that religion sort of approach. If saying that salvation in Christ and Christ alone is fundamentalism to you, or to Phil Madeira in this case, then I guess that's what I am, because I think that faith in Christ is your only hope for salvation. I think that's biblically defensible. It's logical. It's what Christ himself has said. And look, I only bring up this record because it's being talked about in Christian music circles. It has openly Christian artists on it. It came out this last week. But even if it's not meant to be pushing a Christian message, don't worry. You can still listen to it. You can listen to non-Christian music. It's okay. Just be discerning about what it means. And the final release, Great Awakening with their single, Deathbed. Great Awakening is a alternative pop duo, indie-tronica sound. They're gearing up to release a 4-track EP that, full disclosure, I backed on Kickstarter. I like these guys a lot. I like their sound. From start to back, this is a great track. It kicks off with a cheery, lively guitar hook, thick 80s style synth, both of which are pretty common within Great Awakening's sound. Has some excellent falsetto singing right before the last few choruses. Some other awesome stuff too, like this squeal from the synth in one of the verses right after he says, like thunder in the Midwest, and then this synth just shoots up out of nowhere. And it doesn't repeat. It's a one and done moment, and I love that. I love moments like that. Really excited for this EP coming soon. When it comes out, you can be sure I'll be blabbing about it with good or bad things to say. We'll just have to wait and see. That's the final release I have to talk about. This was a long episode, so if you're still with me, thank you for sticking with me. You are a true fan, or you're bored. But thank you for watching the Discern Recap. Please subscribe if you like this content. It's coming to you every Monday. If you have suggestions about what you want to hear, a specific album, maybe a topic, let me know. discernreviews at gmail.com is the email. On Twitter, at discernreviews. Comment below. However you want to get in touch with me. Let me know what you want to hear, what you like, what you dislike. Anyway, I hope this helped. See ya.